Welcome back, Team Queens. Like I told you in the last video, today's video is actually a story time. I'm going to talk about the time that I was in an abusive relationship. Before I start, I just want to remind you to hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, share this video as well with others, and turn on your notifications so that you know when I posted another video. When I was 13, yes, 13, I was walking home from school one day. And remember, in one of my first videos, I talked about having middle child syndrome. So, wanting attention that I didn't feel like I was getting and that sort of thing. And when you're 13, you're very young, obviously, and you're very impressionable. And you're coming into yourself physically, emotionally, mentally. It begins to be a very confusing time. So anyway, I was walking home from school and I saw this boy and he was riding his bike. Now, I could have kept walking, but I didn't. For some reason, when he said, "Hey, what's going on?" I was like, "Hey," and I responded. So he came over and we were talking for a while and we exchanged numbers, and by the time I got home, he was already calling. Okay, so moving forward, there was one day that he came over in the morning before I went to school. Nobody was home, obviously, and one thing led to another, and I felt like I was in love at 13, But at that moment, when you are experiencing that kind of emotion, you don't know the difference between puppy love and real love. Now, he was a few years older. When that happened, the last moments of us doing what we were doing, I saw the stuff coming out of his parts. And I freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, like, whatever. Yes, there was, there's ways, obviously, to prevent these things from happening. But when you're that young and you're naive and you're, told that, it's okay, like, don't worry, I know what I'm doing, you're going to believe him. So I did. I believed him. And then I was like, what the hell is that? And he was like, I don't know, I'm sorry. All this nonsense, and I was just like, oh man. And I told him to get out. Fast forwarding, I eventually realized that, I was pregnant. So I ended up calling him and telling him first. His response was a typical response. He did explain later on that he was scared when he said this, but he told me it wasn't his. Now, you did hear me say that when he took it out, I mean, we both saw what happened. So I guess maybe he was scared. I don't know. But I ended up having to tell my mom, and I was in grade 9, went to high school. He wasn't in the child's life. He was told it wasn't his, since that's what he wanted to say anyway. And then in grade 10, I decided, you know what? It's unfair for my child to grow up without a father because of a decision that I made. So basically, I contacted him and I told him. We got back together, and when he was trying to see her and things like that, it was just a whole issue with my side of the family and whatever. So, again, being young and in love and naive, I was very easy to convince again. He was basically saying that, he wanted us to have another child together. We didn't do it on purpose, but we didn't do anything to prevent it. When I did finally find out that I was pregnant again at 16, my mom kept to her word from the first time, and she was like, listen, you can't stay here. I ended up moving to a home for young girls. It was actually a house, I think it was a 3-bedroom. And so once you have the baby, what happens is they help you transition out into your own first apartment and that sort of thing. So that's what ended up happening. And he moved in with me. We moved in together. Here it comes. So the first night, which was moving night, I don't know why we were arguing. We were just kind of going back and forth. I don't remember what we were arguing about, but I do remember that there was a friend of his there as well. So it was the 3 of us, and we were arguing, and then finally I got fed up. I'm like, you know what, like, just give me the keys. And I left the apartment. I went for a walk. When I got back, I was standing outside the front door and I heard them talking. All I heard his friend say was, yo, when I was with so and so, you know what I did? Yo, I just put in her place. Yo, I just boxed her one time. Now, up until this point, I have never had anybody, not him, not anybody, put their hands on. Meaning, it wasn't something that I was afraid that was ever going to happen, even with him. Even though he was giving that advice, I just figured he would just brush it off. So anyway, I walk into the house. I called him out on what they were just talking about. And I guess he was impressionable. I guess he didn't have a mind of his own. And that's when he decided to push me up against the wall. So he's holding me there. And who tried to come to my rescue? Not the same person that just told him that this is how he should keep me in check. Yo, you can't do that. Yo, what are you doing? Chill. You just told him that this is what he should do when I'm out of line, but then you want to come to my rescue when he's doing it? Anyway, so I'm standing against the wall in shock, and he let go, and then he took his stuff, and I told him to get out, and he got out. I don't know if it was a couple days later or whatever the case may be. Is he was asking to come back. He's like, I'm sorry. And I was like, listen, and this may sound cliche, but it was actually factual, okay? My father has never put his hands on me. So the fact that you think you can, that's a problem. And it need not happen again. He said, all right, like it won't, like, you know, I've never done that before. I don't know this. And he was in my ear and blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. People make mistakes. It is what it is. Let him back in. Needless to say, it went downhill from there. He did it once, he's going to do it again. The first time was a drape up. The second time, not so much. But this one time, another friend of his had to stay at the house for a while. And he was on the couch watching TV. I was told that baby bottles I put to soak maybe half an hour prior needed to be washed. And I was like, yeah, like I know, I put it to soak. I'm just going to finish up what I'm doing and I was going to get back to it. Big mistake. So I went in there to wash them. I don't remember why he was upset, but he came into the kitchen, friend still sitting on the couch, so he can see everything. But his head is facing the TV, so he's not looking, he's not paying attention. I guess he's trying to mind his business. My kids are in the room, and again, he pushed me up against the kitchen wall. I don't remember what he said, but I was told to leave it and go in the room. So I went in the room, and I was sitting, my kids were sleeping on my bed, and I was sitting on the floor with my back against the bed. And he was directly in front of me in the hall, and I remember him opening up the closet door, picking up one of those big sliders, like, a man-sized slider. It's fairly heavy, especially when it's being whipped at you. So he took the slipper out of the closet, and he whipped it, and it hit me right in my face. I think it was this size. And obviously it hurt, and I cried a bit. And he's like, put these on, and let's go. It was maybe about 9 o'clock at night, maybe 10. It was pretty late. So I'm thinking to myself, where are we going? Obviously, I'm getting scared now because I'm like, where are we going? So I got up, I did as I was told, I put my slippers on, and I walked out of the room. He told his friend, yo, we'll be back. He left my kids with this person, and we left. Down the street that we were walking, not only was it dark, but it was almost industrial. It was just like, I don't want to say factories, but warehouses almost. It was weird. On one side, and the other side, when you finally started walking up, you see a big park. That's where we were walking. And I remember looking up and saying, Jesus, please just keep me safe, just protect me. And that's all I kept saying. He said, sit down. So I sat on the bench, and he stood in front of me. And then he was basically just going at me. I couldn't even tell you what he was saying at this point because I was still just praying internally. And all I remember him saying was, when we get back to that effing house, I don't want you sleeping on the bed. You're going to sleep on the floor like the dog you are. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Okay? I kept quiet. We walked back to the house. I went in the kitchen to wash those dishes. And I remember looking up one more time and saying, Jesus, please, I need you. Please get me out of this situation. I can't do this anymore. He would make me clean the kitchen. This would be about like 2 in the morning. I'm still in high school. I still have to get up in the morning to take the kids to daycare and still go to school. And he's telling me, wake me up and let me know when you're done so I can come inspect it. One time he made dinner and he would use my eldest daughter at the time, she was little. She didn't know what was going on, but to come ask me if I'm hungry. And then he would say, oh, well, mommy's not eating, kind of thing. And then he would laugh about it or whatever, like it was a joke. And she didn't know any better. She's a baby. But I would have to wipe down the dining table, and he would like lean to see what direction I wiped it in. And if it was the wrong direction, I would have to do it again. I was leaving to take the kids to daycare and go to school after that. And I forgot, I think it was my bus pass or my tickets or something like that. And I knocked on the door and he opened, he's like, what? And I was like, I forgot my ticket. So he went and he got it and he threw it on the hallway floor. I didn't say a word. I picked it up. I went out, when I got on the streetcar, got to the daycare. When I dropped off the kids, something just didn't feel right. I had had enough. And remember, I prayed a prayer to get me out of there. And at that moment, something told me, you know what? It's time to go home. And I don't mean home as in where I just came from, because that wasn't home. That was a house. That wasn't home. So I picked up the phone, I called my mom, I was crying, and I said, Mommy, I can't do this anymore. I want to come home, I can't do this anymore. And she said, okay. I went back and I got my kids, and everybody was like, are you okay? I'm like, you know what? It's going to be okay. And that's all I said. I got the kids dressed and took them to my mom's, and I had never gone back since. That was the most memorable part of that whole experience, because of the worst case scenarios that I had gone through, that one experience that I just talked about in the park and all that, but more so because of the realization that, listen, if I didn't know God at that point, which I did, but if I had not known that he was real, I knew he was real at that moment, because my prayers were answered. I got out of that situation. I had never been back since, and I vowed to myself that no matter what, I will never, ever allow myself to be put in that position again. But if I see red flags, I'm out. I cannot allow myself to go back to that place because of a vow that I made to myself, and more so because I have an example to set for my kids. Everything happens for a reason, and I know that situation has allowed me to become who I am and as strong as I am today, and has allowed my faith in God to grow tenfold. So everything happens for a reason, and I just pray that somehow, some way, this video inspires and touches somebody else who may be going through the same thing, or knows somebody that may be going through the same thing. It enables them, it helps them to realize that, you know what, I can do this too. I was 16, 17 when this happened, and there are grown women who go through this on a regular basis. So I really pray that if you are watching this, you remember how amazing you are and how strong you are. No matter how you may feel, no matter how scared you are, you're not alone. You are not alone. Even if you don't physically have somebody there or feel supported by somebody physically, just know spiritually, honey, you're not alone. Just close your eyes and lift your head, put your hands together, and just pray. And I promise you, it's going to be better. It'll be better almost immediately. Ask and you shall receive. Until the next video, please remember to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and turn on your notifications. And most importantly, at this point, especially for this video, share. Until the next video, ladies, hold it down, and don't forget to correct your crown. Stay royal.